What's up everyone? Welcome back, and today we're going to take a trip down memory lane. We're going to talk about types of kids in high school. Well, school, in particular high school. Let's start off with the number one. Now, I'll preface this by saying this is very tailored to Australia, I would say, because number one, the popular boys. Now you might be thinking, oh yeah, the jocks or whatever. No, the popular boys in Australia mean they're all about their four-wheel driving, they're fishing, they're hunting, they're outdoorsiness, I suppose. I guess that's about it. I don't really know. I would say in particular they're like four-wheel driving. They're always out camping, doing something, you know, with dirt and the environment and the no phone service. But you know, they find fun in it. So they're always the most popular people. I don't know, I guess because they've always got the wildest stories of what they've been up to. Which brings us to number two, the popular girls. These girls, I would say they always had the most wild, random drama going on. I don't know why. I wasn't popular. They drove Swifts though, I would say. But then I guess that's sort of like every high school girl gets a Swift. They did always seem like they had their lives together though. Like, despite the drama, they always had it themselves put together, you know, like perfect hair, perfect makeup if they're wearing makeup. And if they didn't have makeup, their skin was just so good anyway. Their workbooks were always neat. They always had homework done. They just had it all together. Who even decides who's popular in high school? Does high school even decide who's popular in high school? Do the popular people make themselves popular? I don't know. Anyway, moving on from all the popularity, which we can't relate to, is number three, the artsy kids. These kids always sort of dressed however they wanted to, always into like filming, always into painting, drawing. Their books always had drawings on them no matter what. Every single page you'll see some type of doodling about something, and they always have short attention spans. Maybe it's like the ADHD or something. I really don't know, but their mind just goes off in different tracks. Maybe it's just their creativity going all the time, but if you have a conversation, it won't be staying in the same spot at all. But you'll come up with some great ideas in that conversation, I will say. So, the artsy kids were cool, in my opinion. Which brings us to number four, the nerdy kids. Now, these types of nerdy kids, obviously, you know, they were super smart at just everything in general. It didn't matter what they did, they were just smart. However, they always played like children, and I was like, you're so smart, but you're playing Tiggy or something. Like, I don't know, I never got it, but that's what they do. However, I will say they're super nice and they're also super helpful. Worth getting to know them, I would say. I mean, they could be ruling our country soon. We don't know. Like, they're that smart. Best to stay on their good side, I would say. They also had a very big reputation that they were a bit weird, but once you started talking to them, they weren't really weird. I think it's just sort of like that nerdy persona that we give out to people, but I thought they were really nice. Which brings us to number five, the sporty kid. Now with this sporty kid, I would also group in the gym junkies because it all relates, you know. Now these kids, they lived and breathed sport. Their whole life was sport. They would come to school with sports gear. Half the time they'd already be wearing it. They live and breathe 24/7. If they couldn't do sport that day, their life was over for that day, mate. Better crawl into bed and wait till tomorrow's. Yeah, like, it was crazy how much sport these people did. Some people like did sport before they got to school in the morning and then did sport for like 12 hours after school. And it's just a little bit crazy. I could never be that fit. I commend you for being that fit and so dedicated to something. I don't think I've ever been that dedicated to anything in my life. Like, at all. And some sporty kids played multiple sports, like, consecutively. I don't know how you did it. But also, like, we can change a conversation to something other than sport. I get that you like it, but I'm also not really following here. Or I've also already heard what the score was from whatever game you played last night, and it's time to talk about something else, you know? I commend your dedication though. Which brings us to number six. These were the quiet kids. These kids, man, you gotta watch them, eh? Like, they are low-key super smart too. You know, they just Always in the shadows, not really making big announcements anywhere. They always got good grades consecutively. They were really good at being at school. However, on the rare occasion you got to talk to a quiet kid, they were really interesting and they are so kind. Just their lives were just so interesting. Like, would you expect them to be like overseas for like school holidays and then come back and just, I don't know, live a normal life? Like, they've done some stuff, man. Quiet kids have done some cool things. They just won't tell you unless you ask them or you nag them. But they were really cool. Which brings us to number 7, the musical kid. These kids, you know, sure, they're talented. You know, you can sing a good tune, you can play a good song, but also life doesn't always have to be a poem. Just putting that out there. Don't always have to talk about life in poetry form. They were always performing. If they weren't performing, they were practicing for something. Once again, committed, dedicated, much like the Sporty kids. We commend your dedication and your care and your passions. It's amazing. Always be talking, like you would try and have a conversation and somehow, you know, life's a riddle. And you're like, bro, I just want to know what you had for lunch. But sure, yep, the sky's blue. For some poetic riddle of a reason. Yeah, that's how that always went. At least it solved like 85% of the time it went like that, I think, if you're talking to a musical kid. Which brings us to number 8, the emo kid. These kids most of the time had their hair dyed super dark, pretty much long clothing, wasn't always long clothing. Some type of jewelry on, always had like dark eyeshadow, dark eyeliner going on, always had headphones in. You couldn't always understand what they were saying just because it was like wild sometimes. You're like, what planet are you on? But for the most part, they just had their headphones in and they were just ignoring everyone, you know, in like their emo fashion. But then once they did talk, like, it was nice, I suppose. I definitely went through an emo phase, but I also went through an arty phase. Never a popular phase. Which brings us to lucky number 9, the overachiever. Oh, everyone loves a good overachiever, don't they? No, we don't. Stop it. The overachiever, you know, they were all for their schoolwork. Schoolwork is their life. I'm gonna live and breathe schoolwork. For literally no reason, because it's not that important if you don't get it done. All they cared about was like making sure their homework was done, making sure they had every single note ever written down, making sure their exams were gonna be perfect. They gotta have the grades, they gotta get the points, they gotta get the points so then they can go to uni, they gotta get into a good uni degree so then they can have a good job. And it's like, mate, I see you working at like Woolworths or something. But I'm glad those grades were worth it. They were always doing some type of studying or some type of homework in the library / in lunchtime, wherever they could. It's just, as long as something schoolworky was getting done, they stressed out so much. They needed to chill. I hope you see that now, that like you need to chill, because I don't know, maybe you're still going through the uni process actually and you don't see it yet. Just remember, the assignment isn't your life. Helpful advice from me. Brings us to number 10. These kids are the tradie kids. Now you know what I'm talking about if you made it through to 10 through to 12. So basically these kids get a trade in year 10. They're at school maybe 2 to 3 days a week. Don't really know what they get up to. Don't really care about school. They're just sort of there for the attendance because they got to keep their trade up. They're usually pretty cool. They're the ones who've already got their life together, because they've actually already got like a career job. And so you're sort of sitting at school the whole time learning nothing, just being like, wow, this is so boring. Whereas this kid gets to go to school for half the amount of time while he lives like his real world job. That's a little bit crazy. Like, there are people sitting in school right now with a better career, trade, career, it's all the same. Kids younger than me have got better jobs. That's the society we live in. I mean, look at Billie Eilish, she's my age. She was the music kid. Gotta watch out for them, mate. Although I do have a question for the tradie kids. Do you still actually do your trade, or did you leave your trade for something else? You might be really successful by now, I don't know. So let me know if you still do your trade or you actually found something better through your trade. So that pretty much sums up the top 10 types of kids in high school. Now these can obviously overlap with each other. You know, you can be popular and arty, or you can be like popular dude and do a trade sort of thing. Everyone overlaps, but you know, that's just like sort of the categories, I suppose. Please don't take offense to this video. I don't want anyone hating me. Then again, I don't actually know if anyone from school even sees these videos anymore. Let me know that too. If you do, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. But then again, if you got offended, that means that you saw yourself as that person. That pretty much sums it up. Until next time, see ya!